All right, good afternoon, everybody. Calling this meeting to order. Have to read this statement out. Recording and taping notification. As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Does anyone want to? No? Okay. So we'll go, let's see. There's some new faces here, so if you wish to speak at the public comment, you have to sign you need to sign your name and give your address, so the paper will be up here, just to let everybody know. So, old business. We have minutes from 10/8/19 meeting. See them? Oh, actually, are you the secretary? Are you going to be the secretary, Fran?
Hopefully not.
Who's going to do the secretarial duties?
I did mine.
He did?
Do you want everybody?
Bob did his. You're up.
I'll give anyone my
Okay.
notes.
I'll take notes too.
You'll take no.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give it a shot.
Cindy's notes.
That was actually
phenomenal.
under our new business, but we need to
Yeah.
do it as, yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I pass this around?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just so you know, we rotate secretarial duties, so you might be up next.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
Just to give you.
I'll watch this time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Well, if you want a full time, you can have it.
Yeah, you can have
Oh.
full time. All right, the minutes from the 10/8/19 meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from October 8th of 2019.
Second? Okay, great. Old business is the possibility of putting a questionnaire survey at the Harwich Chamber. Maybe you should table that. Got a lot going on, I think. It just doesn't think it's going to work.
The only thing that we should discuss is,
Yeah.
what are we thinking? That's what I made a note of.
Yeah.
Like, when we first discussed having a survey, what kind of survey are we thinking of having there?
Just people's views on the volume or the music in the port. Are they happy with it? Not happy?
So I
You
think
know,
instead of
those-
doing a survey, why don't we have anyone, and I'm there Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, if anyone in the public would like to come in, give some notes, sit down or whatever, I have no problem with that, to do a survey and say, okay, check 1 through 4 on,
And try to do it
No.
online, it's
Yeah.
going to
but
work too
please,
much.
I open it up to anyone to come in, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. The only time that I'm going to ask you to stay away from is Christmas in Harwich.
People can come to this meeting,
Oh, of
so
course, yeah.
I don't think we need a
Yeah,
questionnaire.
no. All right, well, so we'll
And they
just
can write letters into the
We
board
can
or
table
whatever.
that, yeah.
table that. All right, so we determined our secretary for the next meeting is going to be.
Miss, I'll do that.
Okay, great. Discussion of any correspondence received from business community members? Did anyone receive any, or?
So, I have been waiting to really hear from, I thought it was most important, not that our other businesses in Harwich Port aren't important, they've also come here, as we saw at last meeting, but I really wanted to hear from the restaurants that do outdoor entertainment, and I had a wonderful conversation with Judd Brackett. He's out of the country, so we did connect on Saturday. And for anyone that doesn't know, Judd owns Ember and Port with his brother Griff. And we had a great conversation in regards to this, that being, was very open to, I had filled him in on what had happened at the last meeting, and one of the violations that they had, he did bring up with me that they actually had a band that they had to actually fire on the spot because they were too loud and they weren't hearing them when they said, turn it down, turn it down. So they actually halted the music that night and have fired that band and didn't pay them. So they would like to do whatever they can. Last night, at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, the first round of violations were voted on, and what the town administrator had thought of for a reprimand, I guess is what we'll call it, I don't even know, that kind of sounds, but because most of the violations were on Sundays, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but the first one, last Sunday in June, I think the first Sunday in July, no amplification or no music at all. And then all the Sundays in August is just going to be acoustic. So those were the first 3 violations, I believe, Chief, correct? Yep. So there still is other, but what I felt was very important, and in the conversation that I had with Judd, was that they want to figure out how to make it work, because there are issues for them as well as for everyone else, too. So, not sure what the right thing is. That, one thing I found really sweet out of the conversation was that he said, and on Sundays, Sunday's family day. People go to church, they want to be with their families, so maybe Sunday's acoustic day. So wants to come up with something. It's just, what is the something? Open for any kind of dialogue. So we just need to get to something. So was very pleased with that, and so that's what I've heard from the restaurants. And then just, the other, I've had realtors reaching out. Peggy Nye, who's with William Ravis, she was here the last meeting. The common thread is that people are looking forward to their vacations here or buying homes here. So I'll touch more on, as we go along, different thoughts. But great conversation. So I'm very, very, very pleased, and I think we'll get somewhere with everyone.
Cindy, what, did he tell you what his issues were? I didn't quite understand.
With his band that he had to fire?
Oh,
They were too
Yeah,
loud.
I know, but did he have any other issues?
No.
No, okay.
No.
I misunderstood you then, okay.
Yeah, no, his issue was with the band
Yeah.
that they had hired. They
Yeah.
had a contract.
Yeah.
They weren't abiding by the contract, so they actually, that night,
I remember him
were
saying,
quiet
yeah.
because they fired the band right on the spot.
So they're open to acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
You think we could get everyone to get to the I mean.
We'll wait for the public comment. Yeah, but that's.
Did Judd say anything about volume at all?
That's the hard thing. I had a conversation earlier with the deputy chief, and I don't, I keep saying, okay, let's bring in an amplifier and put it on number 4. Okay, if number 4 is, the low thing and it's at 150 feet, it's fine. I don't know, he's open to it.
Yeah.
So if there's something that can be written in, and I don't know this yet, if it can be written into an entertainment contract that, okay, you're, again, how do you do it? So we just have to, but yes, absolutely, if there's a guideline, as long as it's the same guideline for everybody, everybody's gonna be good.
Did they think there's recognize a difference between the two places? Like, I would think it'd be easier to contain music at the port than at Humber.
Actually, it's probably harder over at the port because it's a smaller location, as well as the fact that they've got neighbors right up against the back. So that's where the challenge is
It's
there.
not.
I would
It's not,
think,
it's harder at Denver.
Yeah.
Because it's
Really?
open, it's just.
Well,
tough.
yes.
It carries further to the south,
and
that's
they've
which
got,
is a problem.
stone floors, stone patio, whereas at
The port's very enclosed, and
closing, you put a cover
theirs
over it.
doesn't go that far,
Yeah, the park's right next door.
Yeah, there's,
so they're all-
depending on the wind direction, if it's blowing north, then you get complaints to the south.
And I mean, that's the same with any of the locations, really. It depends on the wind. I mean, I have a volunteer that works for me. She lives up off a long road. And if the wind is going right off of Bank Street Beach and goes, she hears it. That's a distance. So,
That's
Well,
crazy.
the wind tends-
we can't do anything about the wind, but
Yeah,
we certainly
well,
can
turn
work
down the
with
sound.
all the bands
Yeah.
with the sound, for sure.
Turn on the sound.
Yep, absolutely.
And I know, I've talked to Taylor about this and stuff, and he's trying to do some things, noise dampening, some structures inside, putting an in-house sound system in that will be, so all the bands, or anybody, not bands, a musician that came would have to use that system, that one speaker, or lower under the ground. There's things they can do. And
They can do.
like I said, he said that, the Summers goes out in the parking lot multiple times a night to check, how it is and so forth, but,
I've seen
you
Sarah
know.
do it.
yeah,
does it all the time.
they try, and I think they were pretty good, because I don't think it, there was, sometimes it was, they had, I don't know if they had any violations, maybe one. and so forth, you know, and depending how close you are. If you're very close, you're gonna hear it. But if you're within 150 feet.
Yeah, I had I sent some emails and talked with Sarah a little bit about the Northeast Beer Garden up in P-Town.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great looking place, and she was, it seemed like she was kind of enthused about it, because they have,
What do they have?
you would think, I went in there and just had a beer and a sandwich, and it's like, looked up and it's a canvas top.
Yeah. That'd help, yeah.
And that's
a certain
so-
thing. Yeah.
And I don't know how effective that is, but it seemed
Well, no,
like,
he's
it
looking
seemed like
into,
it
he's
knocked the
looking
noise
into
down.
some things like that, I
Yeah.
believe, you know?
He's got
So
those
they're trying
huge
to-
umbrellas also.
Yeah, and he's thinking
Yeah.
about putting something off the back
Off
of
the
them and
back,
stuff
too.
that would stop it from going to the,
Right.
to the east, you
Yeah.
know, as best as you can.
All those buffers are good, but then again, we have to remember what we need to also do is we still have to turn down the music.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no question on
Whether or not we
that.
buffer
There's no
it
question
is
on the
one
night.
thing, right, but there's still that whole thing with turning it down. So again, I know that we have on our agenda to talk about maybe a field trip down to Harwich Port. I think this part of the time of the year is going to be a little more challenging because, one, there's not people around, and there aren't leaves on the trees, so you can't really buffer it.
I just think we should go down and measure. What
Yep,
does 150
exactly.
feet look like to everybody, and whoever can make it?
Yeah.
What does it look like? I have no idea.
Right.
I mean,
It's half the distance of a football field, or the width of a football. It's
okay,
160.
Mr. Patriot. But I physically need to
Okay.
see it. And we have a measuring wheel, we can go out and measure. You know, we can do from Perks, Fort, back, forth, sides, and, you know.
So, I think that might be an okay idea, but I'm concerned about privacy if we're going on to.
I'm not gonna go in anyone's
Okay.
yard. We're
Okay,
gonna just
okay,
try and
just-
stick as much as we can to the public spaces.
Yeah, there's plans.
Yeah, there's
Because
plenty
like,
of-
for Ember, so we have to do it a couple of locations. So
Right.
Ember going straight across is going to be in the Melrose, but also too, you want to go down that way to see if you're, well, down past it, like past Sunday school, to see
Okay.
if you're, going to Bayview, because there are people,
Right, right.
So we need to see exactly
Okay.
where everyone's locations are to say, okay, yes, that's true, that's why Mr. Jones is hearing it. Because he is, 150 feet,
Mhm.
and the wind just
I mean, some of
blew
it,
it.
a lot of them, you know it's beyond
Right.
150
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But we really do need to take into
Kind of figure it out.
consideration. Yeah, I mean, we heard a lot of things last time, and we really need to make sure that we heard it, but also listened to it too.
Mhm. Does a field trip sound good?
Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Mhm. When were you thinking this?
That's a good idea.
So
Whatever works for everybody. What were you gonna say?
so I wonder if we could, like, do a subcommittee to do it, rather than waste the full meeting on
Everybody
it?
going out there.
Just like send 2 or 3 people out to do it?
I'll go out.
Why don't you come down to me? I'm right down there anyway.
I'll go
I
out.
I'll get the landscape
I'm
measuring
around
wheel.
Harwich Port every
and-
day.
Yeah.
I'm right there
So-
all the time too, so I
I'm
can,
walking my dog.
yeah.
I really, because I'm just curious, what does it look like?
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Certain ones, right.
You know, when you look at the overlay, the commercial overlay, it's 200 feet, it's like, it doesn't really, it's not really,
I get it,
give you
I get
enough
it. It's just-
information, so.
Rather than make a whole big meeting.
Oh, that's fine. You don't have to go, Bob. We'll come to your house
Well, I
for
can't
coffee,
go.
Well,
though.
the other thing, the other thing too is it
You can only
needs
have
to be,
3 of us.
yeah, only 3, because then you have
Oh,
to
that's
post it
right.
as a meeting. So who wants to
Oh.
do it?
I will.
I'll go.
All right. And then Heather, did you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
So I was thinking too, you had mentioned about the decibel monitors. I was
Yeah.
thinking I would be happy to do that with Sarah.
Yeah, because I saw in Sarah's
Yeah,
email,
yeah.
she was thinking
So
about
she
that.
does get that, I'll be
Mhm.
happy to do that.
But that's for the businesses
Yeah,
to
right.
have, as opposed to
Right.
the police, because Chief had said, they're
Yeah.
Right, right,
not really
exact-
something they
exactly.
want to deal with or they think is useful, which I could see, you know?
Oh.
Because how do you calibrate them, how do you, all that difference. But
Right.
For the businesses to have a meter, to say, okay, we know at 150 feet, if the band's playing this high, so they don't have to walk out there every
Right, right.
5 minutes, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, it'd be a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, and they're inexpensive. You can get one on your iPhone if you want,
Yeah.
So,
So when you do this field trip,
Mhm.
you're gonna measure 150 feet from Perks, from Ember, from the
As much as we
port,
can.
from the property line.
Yeah.
from going different directions.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
as much as we can without going onto any private property. Obviously, we can't do the back of Perks of the Port in the sense that there's someone,
Right there.
but we can go down the street.
But we, so we,
Kind of get a view, you know.
right, but we've had complaints on, all around town, but Bayview a lot.
Mhm.
On Woodland, there's been complaints on
Mhm.
Woodland, So, I mean, we know that's far away, but we could maybe just drive, we'll go over there and say,
That's fine.
you know,
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
far.
And it's easy enough, too, for some of those distances, just to use Google Maps.
Yeah.
There's a-
And you-
Yeah, we know it's over the distance,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
to see
Right.
how far, yeah.
I'm a visual person, I have to
Okay.
go out and walk it and look at it.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
That's
so
fine.
we'll,
And again, doing these kind of things, this goes back to what our charge is too, because, you know, we are going to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. We can't change anything, we can make these recommendations, and then it's up to them. So these are great things for us to be doing.
Right, do you think it's time, I don't know, maybe we do that in future agenda, where we all submit some suggestions?
Well, that should be going on during all these meetings.
Well,
No, I know, just come, everybody
Yeah.
put down a list and put them on the table
But
and
the
go
first thing
through
we're
them.
supposed to
Do
do
the
is,
issues.
is the issues. We have to present to the Board of Selectmen the issues.
That's our
That was
first
our
charge.
very first
Well, the issue
charge.
is too loud,
We don't have
No,
to-
no,
Pretty
we're
much.
gonna go on to that,
you know?
that,
the issues list. I don't know
Issues
where you are on the
list.
agenda right
What-
now.
what-
You-
if I can-
These aren't from the Board of Selectmen.
These are not from these are from the residents
Right.
the last meeting,
picked from the letters and from the comments.
from
and
the
that.
comments. So there's a lot more
Yeah, but-
issues than
Just-
just too loud.
Just
Well,
have
no,
us
all
spend-
these are related to too loud. Underage drinking, I don't know why that's on here, that's not
It came
purview
up
of
as
this
a-
committee.
Yeah.
You know, loss of civil rights. I
Yeah,
mean,
some of these are a little.
If I can-
Are not.
you
Okay,
know?
If I can interrupt just for half a
don't think
second,
Martin Luther
just so
King fought
everyone
for the
remembers
noise.
how we're supposed to do this, we will be in front of the selectmen one time. We don't go back and forth to, and then at that time, we make a report to them. So that all of the committees that are a town committee have to make a report to the Board of Selectmen. At that point, we will go through, Angela will have the hit list of what the issues we gathered from our meetings, and then these are our recommendations. Then it's in their hands, and then they do it.
Don't we do two different reports?
Yeah, I don't-
I think we do an issues
No,
report first,
no.
and then,
Only one.
You only
The
get
first
one
objective
time.
is to report the findings.
Right, but this happens in one meeting. We, like, because there are so many committees,
Really?
yes.
oh, I didn't understand that.
So, yes,
Right,
so if you look at
exactly.
the agendas on the Board of Selectmen, they have, under new business, 3 different committees usually. Last night, we had waterways, the library trustees, and one other, I can't remember, housing authority. That's when you get to make your recommendations and your findings. You get one a year. You don't go back and forth. So that's why all of our meetings, we need to take down really, really good notes, get these suggestions put together, and the suggestions from...
Periodic status reports shall be made to the Board of Selectmen at no less than 60-day interviews. So I take that as we make reports to the selectmen, and the first report is supposed to be reporting the findings and understanding the definition of audible noise and having us to have a clear understanding of the requirements.
Okay.
So we do make more than one report
Not usually how it's done.
to the
Maybe-
selectmen.
maybe we should
It says it
just
right.
check with Mike.
I'll
Castle.
check with Mike, but I was on
It
the...
says right here.
I was told,
Right here.
Yep,
you
you're
do
right.
one report on the 31st.
Of December?
No, of
March.
March. Of March.
I think this is to update the Board of Selectmen. But we'll see, yeah, let's
Yeah.
ask Michael
Ask Michael.
what they
because
want, because it is in the charge.
No less than 60-day intervals, status reports to the selectmen.
And
No
that may,
less,
and
but-
that may
Yeah.
be
could be more
too,
than
a
that,
status
so.
report to him
Yeah.
as the liaison. Because literally, there are, I think, 30, if not more committees.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They can't do
Right.
there's just no way.
I was there last night, and I left at like...
It sounds like this, they didn't want
Yeah.
you to come in 60 days, and less than 60 days,
Right.
say, we solved it, here's our report, that's it.
Yeah, no.
They want you to spend some time on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's a minimum of 60 days.
And really, from what I got from last meeting and from the correspondence, it really is the volume.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
all
no
relates
one
to
wants
volume.
anyone out of business or anything like that.
Right.
It was all about the volume.
So it comes
So-
down to what the, you know, is there ways to make it so that they turn it down, meaning the penalties be harsher, or they come quicker, as opposed to,
Or
you know,
can these be
being
put
in
into
October for things that
entertainment
are happening in
licensing?
the summer?
Yeah,
And the other thing last night that the Board of Selectmen asked Mr. Clark was to, now that they've had the first bit of violations and public hearings, to now put together how it happens, and what now will be, how he did it, how he came up with it, and then now, going forward, how this will then be set, because there is now a noise committee, and they need some, also ways that we're gonna put together, okay, if you get one violation, this is what'll happen, so have almost a checklist.
So this is part of the recommendation.
Right.
So-
So, but, as I just said, the Board of Selectmen asked the town administrator, who is the license guard,
Granting
so to say,
authority.
and he's now gonna put together that list, so then now the selectmen will have it, so that'll be in their little pot. Our recommendations will give them, and then they'll stir it all up and put together what's gonna happen.
So, Chris Clark's list is what? A list of,
He's going to put together, so when you get violations, how he came up with.
he's going to standardize it?
Like a
he's gonna-
sanctions list.
Yes,
What you get for each violation, what sanction you would receive.
so that's gonna, so we can get to a cohesive way of doing this
Okay.
now.
So, Angela, I think there's more than just volume at hand as an issue.
Well-
Well, in the
What-
letters, and in my
okay.
my
It's a
personal
no,
experience,
it's noise. What
It's
what else
noise,
is
it's
the-
volume. Like,
it's the burden of reporting. It's a
Oh.
huge issue. So,
But it's
and
getting
how do-
reported because of the noise.
that's right.
violation.
It's
Well, I
all
thought-
intertwined.
But it's more than one, I don't think there's any problem with listing more than it's too loud.
No,
Well, I have a
think you're-
problem
I think
with-
you're simplifying it. Residents don't want to have to call the police. That's an issue.
It is.
I
That
don't
is an
So
disagree
you're
with
gonna,
you.
dismember, our report goes town-wide, so.
Right.
Yeah,
That's fine.
You know,
yeah.
you don't want, people are still gonna call the police.
they may
They
not,
might.
yeah,
They're,
yeah.
You know,
they
maybe
can.
we have an app that allows them to contact the venues directly. and
I mean,
simplify
I
it.
do
Yeah.
agree with most of these, like excessive noise. People don't want to call the police, I understand that. We need to define what plainly audible is. 150 feet's hard to measure, we're going to measure that out. People's desire to be able to open their windows, well, that's tied into excessive noise.
Yeah.
Noise by patrons after 10, that has been addressed with Ember. They were the
But it's
violators.
still an issue.
Well,
It hasn't been solved.
Well, we're
But
going
is that
into a new
just-
year. We're going
Yeah,
into
but it-
2020, it's
yeah.
a new business year for those people, so hopefully it
Yeah.
has been. I don't have a crystal ball.
No.
But they've been
But it still
sanctioned.
has been an issue.
Threats by patrons and owners, I'm not sure what that's
That's
about.
not part of our purview.
Yeah, I don't understand
It's nothing to
that.
do with noise.
Refuse left on private property?
our purview.
No. Underage drinking?
Not our,
No. Loss of civil rights? No. How to enforce bylaws and ordinances, I agree with that. We need to figure that out.
Yep.
That would be the sanction list from the Board of Selectmen. Noise is new to Harwich Port, well, yes it is. Too many nights of noise, maybe we can come up with acoustical nights.
Well, if the noise comes down, then it might not be noise.
Right.
Pardon?
If we can
That's right,
dampen.
exactly. And here we go, consequences of timing violations, that's good, and noise level within 150 feet. It's all, seems to be all tied to volume and noise.
And it also,
Yeah.
the responsibility is gonna have to come up on the business owner. You know, they're going to have to know what the volume is. So if we come up with something that says, okay, this is what the guideline is, they need to then let the band or whoever's entertaining that night know that this XYZ is what we need to follow, and then do it that way.
Okay, so there's some more down here, and that
Yeah, and
I took
I don't disagree with cowbells and all that kind of crazy.
Yeah,
That-
of course.
That's
But-
really,
right.
yeah, I mean, that's over the
So
top.
I think we have to deal with figuring out a way to get the venues to self-regulate.
I don't
They're
think we have a
trying.
problem. I don't really don't think we have
They
a
are
problem.
trying.
Yeah. We're coming into a new business year for them, and I think
Well,
they've seen, they've heard.
I've seen myself that is a huge problem.
Well, we've
No,
never
didn't
had a
you-
noise
Don't you
committee
think, Bob,
before.
that you complained constantly a couple summers ago? This summer you didn't complain as much because I think they did a better job.
Yeah, but when someone goes over.
No, I
you-
agree.
Yeah, so I
I'm
think
just
we
saying,
have,
I think they're doing it, I don't think they're doing it fast enough for everybody. Bringing the noise down.
yeah, if they get it down, it's fine, but there's always going to be a situation where reporting needs to take place. So if
Yeah,
we can
oh, absolutely.
If we can simplify that and try to work toward
not having to record.
self-regulating.
Mhm.
And I think the decibel monitors is a great way of
Mhm.
approaching that.
How big are those, Bob? Are they just plug in? I mean,
I can send you the links. I think
it's
they're
just a
like-
small thing that they can plug in into like an
I think
outlet
they
or
come in a
something?
bunch of different sizes.
Yeah.
They're in
The
different
battery,
expenses. You can
yeah.
get $1,000 ones that'll
I
knock out automatic.
put an app,
Up on
a
your
free
iPhone.
app on my phone, it works pretty
They
good.
need the performers to be able to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I think we need to really focus on the future. I think we've addressed the past, and this is what we're here for, is to
Right,
try and figure it
exactly.
out.
Let's change it going forward.
Yeah, let's move forward. We've heard what people have said and written in, and I don't disagree with a lot of it, so.
So how do we come up with a definition of plainly audible? That the business owners can understand, the residents can understand, the police department and whoever's called out can understand the definition of
I know.
plainly audible. That's something we need to address and
Do you want to put that down as an agenda?
Sure.
as
For
an
the-
agenda item.
For next time?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think we,
If I
Yes,
can,
Yeah.
can I put you on the hot seat? So why don't we have the chief explain their trials and tribulations with clearly audible?
Well, everybody's saying it different. It's plainly audible.
Plainly, yeah.
Plainly audible is a legal term that's used in bylaws and regulations. And I was just reading the thing that Bob gave me before coming here again, and it's pretty good. It's got a sample definition in there, plainly audible. My suggestion would be to seek legal advice on getting the tightest terminology possible for the definition of plainly audible for a liquor license / entertainment regulation. I don't feel comfortable coming up with it on my own. I don't know if you folks feel comfortable with coming up with one on your own, but that's what we pay attorneys for.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. On that, what we should do is, through Angela, send an email to Michael McCaskill as the liaison to
Yep.
see if they can reach out to the town attorney to draft something for that. That's what they're on retainer for.
so the Harwich bylaws have plainly audible defined in it, and that it's the only one on the Cape that has a definition. They all use plainly audible, all the bylaws except for Truro, but Harwich is the only one that has that defined. And that was done it looks like it was done in 2012, so I didn't
Yeah,
before my
I
time.
mean, you guys could look at that and say, what, if you think the positive and negatives
Yeah,
of that
well, but-
definition, there
yeah,
are other ways
absolutely.
of wording things,
Yeah.
but it would clearly help us as a police department if I could say, this is the definition of plainly
Yeah.
audible troops. So that means that, like, there's one example, Bob, right, that if it's, you don't necessarily have to hear the words, all you actually have to hear is the driving bass or some kind of sound that's emanating from that amplification device. As I stated before, our officers this past season settled on the fact that they're going to want to be able to actually hear the words to a song, and that to them is plainly audible.
Right.
And that's right, wrong, or indifferent, that's the way we ended up going this
Mhm.
season. I think they're a reasonable group, but if we're given a definition of plainly audible and that's put into the regulation, that's what we abide by.
So how do we
I'll
hire?
contact Mike tomorrow. I'll
I'm
take care of
just
that.
I'm
Oh,
just
my
writing it
notes are
all
going,
over.
crap.
I'll take care of it.
But if we change this definition and the town adopted it, it would be
It has to go to town meeting.
townwide.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
townwide, isn't it?
Also, if it's the regulation, that's one thing. If it's the bylaw, then the bylaw has to go to town meeting.
Right. You're basically talking about noise from licensed establishments, so it would be in the regulation.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
So
So we
it's
wouldn't have
just
to go to
stated
bylaw.
licensed
Correct.
establishments.
Yeah, and the board can do that, they can just vote the regulation. Because that's what they did with the 100, plainly audible,
Right.
Mhm.
beyond 150
Okay,
feet.
sure.
And then they done the
Sure,
hours too.
right, because
I
it's
think.
the second part of the reg, okay. Understand.
Okay, so I have my homework.
Do any of the entertainment licenses, so did they just say plainly audible now, is based on the bylaw, and has no other mention of
No,
volume or
yeah,
anything?
it's different. It mentions 150 feet from the property line.
So it has some of the language
Yeah,
within,
but it doesn't define, doesn't define it in the
Right.
bylaw. what-
Okay.
The regulation, rather, what the plainly audible is. It uses the term, which is defined somewhere else.
got it.
I had a question that I wanted to, about, and this is probably to you, about the license renewals coming up at the end of December. So I don't know if they have to spend money to buy a license or not, but it
Yes.
seems like so it seems like we're possibly setting up a situation where someone's gonna lose out. Like if they renew licenses with an expectation that they're gonna have certain entertainment rules, and then we come up with our proposals in March, businesses could either lose out, or our proposals might not go forward. So it looks like someone could lose out if that's not anticipated. And I mentioned that to Mike McCaskill on the way out of the first meeting, and he said the selectmen could do whatever they wanted. So I don't know if that's an issue or not.
They could issue the license subject to any changes in the bylaws, to the regulations for the entertainment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have to abide by the current regulation, and they adopt a new regulation.
Non-issue?
Non-issue.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with us.
No, it does in the sense, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Saying-
I mean, the liquor
Because you're saying if you
license
can't get it done in the license, then we're with the old, everything for the next season again. Right.
But we're not going to have anything ready to go by
No,
the
I
time the
know.
liquor license,
I
it's just
know.
too fast.
And the liquor license, we have nothing to do
Right.
with. The
Yeah.
entertainment license, the noise stuff can be put into that. But the liquor license has nothing to do with this committee. That's the ABCC.
No,
No,
it's
the
just
liquor
the
license is
entertainment.
tied into the liquor,
Right.
to the
Yeah.
entertainment
Right, but
license.
we have to be careful.
It's
We
listed right on the,
Right.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else?
no.
You look
I
tentative.
got a question. And we keep talking about 150 feet, but how about the people that live less than 150 feet from an establishment that have concerns about the noise level?
Well, if you're within 150 feet, you're within the commercial zone, which is 200 feet. So I think if you're within that area, I don't think you should have, if you're moved into the commercial, specifically into the commercial zone, I think
No,
that's
most
on
of
you.
the people who have that situation were there prior to.
Prior to the noise, prior to the outside music?
So-
How many places are inside the commercial
Just a few,
zone?
just a few. But
The Melrose.
the people over by Perks and Port. But I think it's important, I think Fran's touching on an issue, that 150 feet isn't just a limit, it's also kinds of measures volume. So if you're if it's audible at 200 feet.
Well, you have to be
Yeah,
audible at 150, I mean.
Right, no, it's
There's
not,
there's nothing
just
we can.
volume.
When you have music, you're going to have volume.
Right.
And what as I view it, is we're just trying to get that volume down to a respectable level for everybody. I mean, we're not going to, people that live within 150 feet, we're not going to be able to say, it's going to be quiet for you. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, no one wants businesses to go out of business. That's what I heard last meeting. I mean,
Well, we could re-examine the 150 foot.
and make it what?
200.
And
Make it the commercial zone,
Or
Yeah.
200 feet.
Or maybe-
No, 100? Well, we could, I mean,
No,
I'm, you know,
it's
That's
what
what
the-
that's the license does in Nantucket. It's
100 feet?
The licenses are 100 feet in Nantucket.
we're not in Nantucket. But
No,
we'll be
I know.
happy to measure. I'd be happy to
No.
do both, you know? It's just, you keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
But
No, that's not true. It started off at the premises line, and that was 3 years ago. And then it automatically jumped it to 150 during the public hearing. And during that public hearing, the residents affected really weren't present. And it automatically jumped, and there has not really been any adjustment since. So 150 was, pulled out of the air based on the bylaws.
We can look at it. I mean, it seems like we're going around in circles
Yeah,
right
they
now.
changed it because that was an
Yeah.
inside entertainment.
Yeah.
Right,
Noise law.
it made things
Yeah.
difficult for enforcement
I mean,
no, I understand, but it's,
But
I
it
mean,
was a
Richmond
quiet
Harbor could have
village
some-
when those people,
It was a dead village.
it was a quiet village.
I was
It
there
a quiet
in
village,
or
yeah.
in the 90s. It was
And
dead.
most villages don't have any outside music because of the proximity of the people. So we want to come up with a compromise that works for everybody.
It's not gonna
No,
work
it's
for
not gonna work for
everybody.
Whatever.
We
It'll
just
work
have to
for-
be
it's
realistic.
gonna get- It'll work for
They-
people.
that will work for people, that everybody can live with. They might not be happy, but something that everyone can
And I think
live
that's what
with.
we're trying to move towards, getting
Yeah.
I think Sarah and Taylor, perfectly willing to, and you have worked well with Sarah, getting the noise down there. It sounds like the Brackett brothers are ready to, acoustic, couple nights, 3 nights a week would be great. Market that.
And I think, we were talking, I think that there's a way that businesses, I think when they hear about like this regulation and not having music, of course, they're worried about the foot traffic and keeping the tourism here. But, there are ways that I would think with acoustic music, if they're open to it, you can still promote it to be like
we had a
Harwich
great-
Unplugged. We
yeah.
talked about this the other night. Like, if you're promoting it and marketing that a little, you still get the people. And I know one of the complaints, because I was here during the last meeting listening, was the sound of voices, not just music that they were hearing. And what happens is people start fighting over that sound a little. But when you bring it down and then you do like maybe some acoustic nights, I think it becomes a little bit more livable, And I think part of it, one of the things I've heard people talking about, we do say we have a short 12-week season, and as a business owner, it's very short when you're trying to make as much as you can. And we rely on those dollars. But, I do understand and respect the people who tolerate it for 12 weeks. It's a lot, and, but I think part of that compromise is, we all know that we rely on these business dollars, but we also know that we want to make this livable space, that would be the kind of compromise going back and forth, and hopefully this is a way that we could maybe achieve both by doing more acoustic. And I think like one person had mentioned before that he was really just kind of looking for a break, a little too, because he was hearing it a lot, and said, if there's a break, I understand that some nights will be a bit more lively, and, so.
And those kind of suggestions are the things that you can, put into an entertainment license too, so that, and I'm not saying that these are gonna be the nights, so no one take this, for the law or anything, but what if you did something like, okay, a Wednesday through Saturday is music, and then that Sunday through Tuesday is maybe your Harwich Unplugged, and it doesn't even have to be that it's 7 days. I mean, we can figure something out, but again, something like that is a suggestion, and you're still marketing, and that's a cool thing to market, Harwich Unplugged. Who's not gonna, I mean, you don't see anybody else around us, other towns.
Chatham will
Exactly.
That's great.
So, I mean, those are the things that, businesses want to change things to help, but also thinking outside of the box to be able to keep things too for everyone, because like Heather said, the businesses rely on this. Heather's business doesn't have music, but those gift shops and other shops that have been there for years when different things were going on also have grown with this. So, but we need to also kind of just rework it now that it's grown. You just kind of
Fine tune
tailor
it.
it. Yeah, exactly.
We've got about 20 minutes left, and I've seen a hand behind me up when we couldn't, and I wondered if we could
You want
do
to
a public comment
Yeah, let's move on.
now.
All right. I have a few people signed up here. Mary?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
stand if you don't
No,
mind.
no, that's
Nope,
fine.
Great.
stand, sit over here if you want.
Great,
or-
thank you.
Your name for the minutes?
My name is Mary Alvis. I live on Smith Street in West Harwich. And West Harwich is no stranger to noise issues. So I'm here tonight because I think actually the experience that I have had and my neighbors have had, my neighbor Jenny Doyle is here with me too, can actually help direct you toward a compromise. So basically, we had the Claddagh, if a lot of you have been in this area, the Claddagh Inn. When I bought my house in 1998, the Claddagh had one day, it was a Sunday, of entertainment outdoors, and it was from noon to 8 p.m. And it was one day, and it was loud, We can hear it. I live .211 miles, 1,166 feet from the Claddagh, and so a quarter mile. And we could hear it, but it was one day. And so we thought, okay, so we put up with it, and it was fine. And over the years, it got a little louder, and some neighbors complained about it. But it wasn't until 2009 where the Claddagh was granted a 7-day-a-week outdoor license from noon to 8 p.m. that things really changed in our neighborhood. And not just every day, but the music changed. It used to be Irish music. It was kind of nice. It was kind of an Irish bar. You would go, they'd have jam sessions. But when they went to 7 days a week, they started to have rock bands, and it was loud, multi-piece rock bands. And the issues really started then. So the one thing, this is my folder. These are noise issues for the last 20 years, okay? So like anything in life, things that you experience is an education. So I want to share my thoughts about this and
What do you have suggestions? We're looking for suggestions.
I do have suggestions.
Can you
yes.
put it in writing to the committee here for us?
Yes, can I detail
Yeah.
some suggestions?
Very quickly, because we keep this meeting to about an hour.
Okay.
If you don't mind, and then you can
Nope.
email myself or put it in writing to us.
Certainly.
Because we would appreciate that.
I'll tell you what worked, because
Mhm.
now we have the Harwich Inn and Tavern. The one thing that I want to bring up with everyone is that noise is not just distance, okay? Noise is topography, it's the type of instrument, it's the type of amplification, it's wind direction, it's humidity. I'm not an engineer, but this is all things that I've learned over the past 20 years about sound. And so the Powells can be in Perks, and they can be listening to the music and think, I can talk to my husband or my wife, and it's fine. And they can actually go across the street and they can think, it's really not that bad. But sound travels very strangely, and it actually can carry into neighborhoods in a very different way. So the 150-foot demarcation, it might be fine there, but a quarter mile away, like at my house, it might be loud, really loud. So that's one thing to keep in mind about how sound travels. So I just want to show you a little map, and I know I'm probably going over my time, and I apologize, but the meeting time is really difficult for me. I work full-time, so I'm trying to get as much, and I'm really trying to help you guys because we suffered a lot, and things are better now, okay? So here's my neighborhood.
But you have no music now.
Yes, they do,
We
with
do.
the
We
Harwich
do.
Inn and Tavern.
Yes,
Oh,
and
they do?
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
This is the Harwich Inn and Tavern, Route 28, Mansion Street.
Yeah.
Smith Street, my street, here's my house, North Road, Herring River, okay? So the Harwich Inn and Tavern, when it was the Claddagh, the Board of Selectmen required them to hire a sound engineer, okay?
I remember that.
Yeah, and the sound engineer came, and one of the things he found is that there's a very strange sound corridor that goes from now the Harwich Inn and Tavern, and it travels down Mansion Street, and then it funnels that way. Okay, so here's my neighbor Bob Carney, 5 Mansion. He's 367 feet from the Claddagh, okay, or the Harwich Inn and Tavern. Sometimes it's not loud there, okay, but my neighbor down here, Bernie Megison, he's getting blasted because there's a sound corridor. The sound goes up, and then there's this little drop on Mansion Street, and it goes boom, all the way down, okay?
Interesting.
So Bernie's getting blasted. And then, unfortunately for us, I love our house, but it was determined that there's this very strange sound corridor that basically I can draw a line from the Harwich Inn and Tavern to my house. Now that we had the tornado, the one thing we noticed after July 23rd, that sound corridor is even wider, okay?
Is it year-round music there now? Do
They
do
can have it year-round music, but they actually stopped Labor Day.
Yeah.
Okay, so just one thing to keep in mind, and then when there's a southwest wind, it's unbelievable. Bob here won't hear it, and the southwest wind carries it right over in here, and sometimes all the way up North Road into Bell's Neck Conservation Area, okay? So, a couple of things that I can recommend, and the Board of Selectmen, trust the Board of Selectmen, they worked with us year after year after year. We had 17 hearings before the Board of Selectmen from 2009 to 2012, okay?
Yeah, I remember they were.
And it was all over the newspapers if you were here. It was really rough. It was pitting the business against the neighbors, similar to what's happening in Harwich Port. All we really wanted to do, like these good folks, is ask you to turn the music down. Unfortunately, the CLADA never really acknowledged that there was a problem,
Right.
and so the selectmen had to come in and step in, right?
Yeah.
And they did, and they came down pretty hard, a couple of times
Mhm.
revoking all of their entertainment licenses,
Mhm.
okay? And then giving it back. So the one thing that they did.
Well, fortunately, we have business owners that are wanting to work with the committee.
I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful. I think
they've
it's
been
wonderful,
great,
yeah. The last license of the Cladoff, before it became the Harwich Inn and Tavern, and it was a 45 trial basis that continued, was acoustic entertainment only outside. Limit of 2 performers at a time. Hours of entertainment, 4 to 8 p.m., okay? At that point, I remember the selectmen saying to them, bring it inside, okay? Indoor entertainment, doors and windows closed, air conditioning on. Days of entertainment, and I think this is important, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, okay? No brass, no horns, no drums, okay? And that all came out of, this was their license, this all came out of the sound engineer's report. Now, you think that this would have worked, right? It didn't work, okay? And what ended up happening is the Board of Selectmen, they revoked their license in December of 2011, okay? Reinstated it with this, and when the CLADA came back in July of 2012 and said, can we have our entertainment license back fully, the selectmen said, no, because you don't get it.
Right.
You're not acknowledging there's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward to the Harwich Inn and Tavern, and I'm almost finished. The business was bought. The CLADA had really gone downhill. There were a lot of issues there outside just entertainment. There were some deaths in the family, unfortunately. Mr. James Tsoukalis bought the property. Neighbors went over, had a little meeting with him, said, we want to start off on the right foot. He basically said, I'm going to go for whatever I'm going to go for. And he went before the Board of Selectmen in December, and he asks for indoor and outdoor entertainment from noon to midnight, 7 days a week. And the selectmen, God bless them, I wish Mr. McCaskill were here, the selectmen said, oh, wait, there's a lot of history with this property. We better involve the neighbors. Thank God, we didn't even know that he was going before them or what he was asking. So they put the brakes on that, they got the word out, they invited us to a hearing, and we came. And Mr. Ballantyne and Mr. McManus, they lived the Cladoff years with us. They knew about it. And Mr. Howell, actually, if you can get Mr. Howell to come to your meeting, he is a sound engineer. He understands, he's actually worked professionally in like sound management. He's a wonderful resource, a great guy. So I would ask him if he's willing to come. I think he would, okay?
Good idea.
So what happened with the Harwich Inn and Tavern, they put the brakes on it. We asked the Board of Selectmen baby steps. We've had 4 summers of quiet, and we really don't want to go down this road anymore. And the selectmen heard us. They worked with us. So what they did is they said Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 4 to 8 p.m. This is important too. 1 speaker, 1 amplifier. Speaker on the ground, okay? Because there's a fence around, and at one point the speakers were up, okay? And so the sound was traveling. And unfortunately, Mr. Tsoukalis didn't remember that the Board of Selectmen said that to him, so that he violated that provision of the license. And when we went back at the end of July, the Board of Selectmen said, I'm sorry, you violated that. You now need to go to the 1 speaker, 1 amplifier, which he did. I believe that was July 23rd. The only time I heard them, we heard them in our neighborhood, was the Friday of Labor Day weekend when there was a strong southwest wind. Otherwise, we did not hear them.
It's interesting,
Okay?
yeah.
So the acoustic is a way to go. You know, when the acoustic license went into effect for the Cladoff, we didn't hear it again. There were no issues whatsoever. I think that's a great thing. I think limiting the number of days, okay? Mr. Ballantyne said to Mr. Tsoukalis, Sundays, these people work. We're a working class neighborhood for the most part. Let's give them Sundays. No music on Sundays. He didn't say acoustic music, which is different, but give the neighborhood Sunday. And I have to tell you that when I would wake up on Sunday morning, you know, knowing I had to be at work early on Monday morning, and I knew I wasn't going to hear anything from anywhere, and I could sit out on my deck, I could have people over, I wasn't embarrassed for music, you know, and I love music. My mom's a music teacher, I grew up with it. You know, I'm not a music hater, but just that peace and quiet, you know that you're going to get that, and that that means so much. So when you're deliberating and thinking about how you're going to come to compromises here, you know, limiting the number of days, think creatively, the type of music, one speaker, one amplifier.
Can you, not to interrupt, because we need to move on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
I'm a teacher by trade.
Yeah,
so-
we got other people. Can you, I'll give, yeah, put it in writing?
Yes,
The
I'll-
speaker, not all the other issues,
No,
because
no,
we
no,
know all about
no,
the cloud and all
no,
that.
yeah.
But how it worked for you with the speakers, the
timing
band,
and stuff.
yeah, all that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes,
you know.
I'll put it all,
That would be
if
great.
you want the Clatter, you want the Harwich Inn and Tavern,
Just
in
what
general.
worked, in general, what worked,
Perfect,
what you
okay.
felt or your
Okay.
neighbors felt worked.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that
That
sounds
would be
great.
great.
The other thing is, one more thing, a house sound system might work too. And the Clatter was made to do that, where all the performers had to use
Right.
the house sound system.
Yeah.
And so then the bars and
Mhm.
restaurants, you have control over it. You know, you don't have to fire these
Right.
guys
Right.
for blasting you.
Yeah.
So.
Add that to your list too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
that'd be great, thank you. All right,
Eight.
yeah, go ahead.
All right. It's a good follow because I had some of the similar comments.
Your name again?
My name is Marna.
Yeah.
I live at the Melrose. And I live closer to the music at Ember than some of the people that are complaining, and that is where your comments and the engineer and the town's sound, how the sound moves and where is really important. My biggest suggestion from my heart is if anyone in town is bothered by anything, I can tell you the port and Ember are all ears. Call them and you'll get an immediate response. Sometimes when you call the police, you don't get an immediate response. Sometimes the police don't even find it's a violation. If you call directly and tell them, we can hear your music and we don't want to, it'll be down. They have no reason not to. They would like to be a good neighbor, and I'll tell you another reason why this is really a strong recommendation. I live at the Melrose, and a lot of the nights when there were violations, I never heard anything. So I'm not hearing it, but people, Woodland, Bayview, down 28, are hearing it. So Ember doesn't know, they're getting blindsided. They would love to know before the police arrive. They would like to be a good neighbor. They'd like to turn it down the minute it's bothering anybody. So to that end, now, I have Scotty calling me every night if there's music. I don't think there's any more music, but every night I go down there, I stand there, I listen to it, sounds fine. I go home, still sounds fine. 30 minutes later, the wind might have shifted, the temperature might have dropped. I'll call Scotty, I said, I can hear it now. And there was one night when the guy was winding up on his finale, I said, cut that, hold
That's
his plug.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And then, now, with all of them.
But
They all
we're
go to a
happy
finale.
to make y'all happy,
Yeah.
but we just begging you to work with us, that's all.
Yep, understood.
Signed up.
We got to keep this moving here. Let me, Ginny Doyle?
I just wanted to reiterate what Mary said. I remember back in the 80s when we had the Irish pub and the windows were open, the music was flowing out the doors and the windows, and the selectmen came down on them and said, you have got to go inside, close your windows, we are demanding that you put an air conditioning system in this building, which they had to do. Now, some of these businesses have the flexibility of going inside, and I would think that unless they cooperate, they may have to go that route, because it's really unacceptable.
Yeah.
And we in West Harwich have been through this, as Mary said. We want to support these people because we know what living with this is like. And the whole outside music venue is a totally new thing. And I think the town needs to recognize that, and they need to move to have bylaws and regulations put in place to protect. You don't hear outside music on 6A. So why do we have it on 28?
Well, fortunately, our businesses here in Harwichport are very, as Marna said, they are willing to go the extra mile, and they're really trying to work with the
Well,
neighbors and
I think
everybody.
the proof is in the pudding, but I think that we need to see how it goes, but we need to move towards some very stiff regulations, because this outside music thing can get way out of hand.
6 minutes.
Okay. Peg and Steve Trowbridge for next.
I just, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up something that I was relieved to hear actually been said, and that is make it acoustic, 7 days a week. Everybody loves music, no, whatever, however many days. But just make it simple.
Harwich
and-
Unplugged.
And Harwich Unplugged, and make it, the kids will like it, they can talk to each other. Don't have to yell over each other for that.
I mean, you could get all the businesses to agree to go acoustic, it would make a significant difference.
It would, but I can't guarantee that that would be, I mean, we're
I know,
really
but we're
towards
looking for
something, but
compromise, so that would be.
can't
Right.
go this
And-
way.
and I mean, they're obviously, their business is improved. This is where, there's revenue that they're getting, the city's also getting the revenue from the taxes.
Yeah.
So, everybody wants that, and wants to encourage it. But wouldn't it be nice if it was just, I mean, if the kids could respond and be, anyway, but
Yeah.
that's their game.
Thank you.
All right, who was next on the list?
The list just got taken, so I don't know.
George and Bill Rockwood.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Rockwood. I'm here visiting Dad on Bayview Road. And this is right in my wheelhouse. I'm a 35-year acoustics engineer.
No.
So I have a couple of technical comments for you guys. And I want to reiterate the complexity of sound. Yeah, a lot of times sound bounces around and is atmospheric dependent. It's a complex issue. The good news is, though, as opposed to only a few years ago, you had to buy dedicated sound level meters. It did cost significant money. Now, the acoustics engineer world has done all sorts of work to certify these simple steps like apps on iPhones, and we've learned that they're extremely accurate and they cost virtually nothing. And the great thing is that if you've got that, if you were to put together an ordinance that not only had verbiage that described, can I understand the words in a song that doesn't seem to me to be excessive, but I think if you put in some easily definable sound levels, dBA levels, and then people who got the app can say, oh, I see here now that I'm exceeding the requirements for the L10 level or whatever it is by such and such, regardless of the reason, then that constitutes a violation, or at least a reason to bring in people and address and get the businesses to dial it down. So there are lots of new ways to measure sound accurately, and I would just point out that many communities address this exact same issue. And so, Nantucket is an example, but they're all over the place. And if anybody wanted my help digging up what's been successful in the past in other communities, what sound levels could be prescribed here, and maybe help you out.
We'll take that offer.
Yeah, could you
Yeah.
give us your contact information?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like communities that are somewhat reflective of Harwichport, small, you know, with
Now, these-
residential
This is very
around.
common.
Yeah.
the meters, when you're doing that, is if you've dealt with businesses, are the meters at the business itself that you would check it, or
No,
at
I
the
think-
distances?
I think it does make a lot of sense to specify the level has to be this at 150 feet, or 200 feet, or whatever you guys decide. Nantucket at 100 feet, which I thought was interesting. But regardless, whatever you guys decide is the distance limit, I think that makes a lot of sense. With the meters, you can put some actual quantified numbers on it. And then on top of that, you go to neighbors who say, wow, I'm in some sort of a weird acoustical environment, and here I've got amplification, and now, although I'm a quarter of a mile away, I'm over the level. And I can tell this with my $2 iPhone app. That gives you a lot of power to be able to say, see, sorry, it's happening, and it's a violation.
Yeah, well, it's a potential violation, because I was at my house this summer and I heard music, I said, boy, it's way too loud in Harwichport.
Right.
I realized it's down the street, they're having a party, you know, they're having so it wasn't even from Harwichport.
Right.
And that's sometimes the problem.
Well, the great thing about the cheap ability to measure sound is that the officers involved in a complaint have their own apps on their own phones, so you get, and you go to a house where somebody is saying that there's a problem, you can get right there and quantify it. And say, and you might get into a situation where somebody says, you can hear it, but it's actually below the spec, so it's technically not a violation. So it takes all the argument out of it.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep,
Be
you
talking
want
to you
to
after
give us,
the meeting, get
yeah.
contact information. Definitely gonna take you up on that. That's okay. Thank you. All right, very, very, very quickly, Barbara Nickerson?
Right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Just a couple of quick points is that I understood this charge of the committee was to be for all of Harwich, not just Harwich Port.
It is.
All right, and everything I'm hearing here is you're going to go measure 150 foot in Harwich Port. We should be going to all the commercial establishments for 150 foot, then not just Harwich Port.
Where else
Right
is there
now,
outside music in Harwich?
Yeah.
In Harwich?
Actually,
And then we've talked
it
to
does-
the chief, there hasn't been any complaints.
I understand that, but right now, it seems that the complaints are in Harwich Port, that's where the music is.
Mhm.
But it's not just only Harwich Port, it's West Harwich also, and they've got their own,
They have their own,
right.
Right.
They don't have any issues right now.
But my point is that
You do?
we're
Oh, you do?
concentrating on Harwich Port, but it's for all of Harwich. I mean,
Oh, I
to
agree.
say that something's not gonna happen in East Harwich with all the stuff going on up there and stuff like that. I think it's really important that you get this 150 in audible noise at 150 foot, not 175 or 200 or 400, 150 foot. And you know, it's challenging for the officers that come out because they all have a difference of opinion. The reality is that, you know what? I don't want those guys to have to be screwing around with 150 foot or listening to noise and everything else. They need to be doing more important things than challenging, than responding to people calling. And that's why both Fran and Bob were talking about, it is more than just the volume. It is the fact that, you know, you're asking people that are up here for vacation or trying to spend time with their family to go ahead and call all the time. It's not fun for anybody involved. And second off, I do take offense to the fact that, people here, they shouldn't have moved here because they're in a commercial district. This isn't Margaritaville. When people here in this room and elsewhere in the phone calls and your letters and everything else, most people have been here for 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years in this particular area. We moved here and maybe you considered it in the 90s really sleepy town and everything, but we've only had music in the port for what, 3 years?
no,
5 years?
Mhm.
Okay. You can't tell me that Harwich Port is all of a sudden rocking and rolling because of music in the port for 5 years. I mean, Harwich Port was up and coming before that, so, no,
okay.
this is not what
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
signed up for.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least,
Bob Peters, 89 Bank Street.
Mhm.
So a couple of, these are questions. So what I'm hearing in conversation is that, what I'm hearing is that entertainment is a right, is a right in the commercial district, and I'm not sure that's accurate. Is music and the commercial district, are they tied together? I mean, that's what I'm hearing, that if it's commercial, it means you can have noise. I don't think.
that's
No.
not what we're
No,
getting
that's what I'm
at.
hearing.
What we're saying
No, no.
is that our 3 businesses that have outdoor music,
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to focus on. That's what we're trying to define. What is the noise level? What is going to be acceptable for them, for the public? That's what we're
But
trying
your
to do.
comment was about commercial and music, it's kind of, they're tied together, I'm not sure that they are. Yeah.
I don't know, I don't
Well,
remember
I
saying
think
anything like that.
that was my understanding. The other thing is, where do we want to be in Harwich Port in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? And if we have 3 establishments doing music right now, well, what about 5 establishments?
We actually have 4
10?
now.
So this 150-foot rule, 100-foot rule, acoustic, sounds like a reasonable way to go. But I think we have to think beyond just this moment, and I think you used the word in the future going forward, because last year doesn't matter, we want to go forward.
Mhm.
So where do we go forward? How do we go forward? And as far as entertainment, and the number of entertainment, the decibel level, or acoustic level, or is it restricted to, 2 restaurants or 3 restaurants? I'm not sure. We've been here since 1976, and we like the sleepy part of it too. And the folks that are here, just like the businesses here, have a window of opportunity, and I love your business, by the way. So it's, 8 or 10 or 12 weeks. Well, that's the same 7 or 8 or 10 weeks that people come here to get away from their other lives.
Right.
Okay? So projecting onto them this other, the noise and the inconvenience, that's the same window of opportunity that they come down to get away from.
So that's,
So I mean, but that, I think
what
that
we're looking for suggestions now.
Well,
We
listen, I think the
understand that.
suggestion first,
Is to-
think beyond this meeting and this year, and where we go from next year and the year after, and build out the picture. What does it look like?
That's why we have everybody here. We want you to help us build that picture.
And that's,
So
yeah,
if you...
these are questions.
No, and put them in writing to us, so we can discuss them. I mean, we can talk about it, and then we all go home, and then we come back 2 weeks from now, we're talking about the same thing. And I'm not putting on anyone here, it's us too. We need, if you've got something, that's a suggestion that we can put forward to the board that makes sense, let's do it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's why I said last time, many people here, we all want these businesses to be successful.
Of course we do.
You know, we want the port to be successful, we want members to be successful. But at the same time, we want to have success as well in the environment that we're living in, and the environment we've chosen to spend money to invest in properties that continue.
And I completely understand. So please, everyone here, let's get these suggestions going. We know that there's a problem, so let's move forward from the problem, please. Because we can talk about this until we're blue in the face and we're not going to get anywhere. We just go and spinning in circles. And we have till March to figure this out. And that's really not a long time. When you look at the holidays, people going away, all that, so. With that being said.
And I just wanted to touch on one thing. Barbara? I was writing your name, but then I flipped the page. So just so everyone knows, this is called the Ad-Hoc Harwich Port Noise Containment Committee. It's, one sec. I'm going to get there. Just can I finish? Thank you. It's called the Harwich Port on this, and I'm looking at the agenda. 1 second, Bob. I see you bouncing your head.
I'm agreeing with you.
What the selectmen said was start in Harwich Port, because this is where we got all the violations this summer. It is then going to be, again, just like we did with the sign permits, it's going to then go out, and now we're going to have the guidelines so that we can go out to West Harwich, so that then everyone's going to have the same parameters. But right now, the only reason why we keep saying, and it's been on a couple of things, Harwich Port Ad Hoc
That's a
Committee.
mistake.
That's okay. But right now, I just wanted to recognize Barbara, and yes, we are going to get to the other pieces, the other villages of Harwich. Right now, because it's so very in front of us, we were just starting with Harwich Port. But it's going to get everywhere. There are 7 villages, they're all going to have the same love.
And I say, from the selectmen, it's called the Town of Harwich Ad Hoc Noise Containment Committee. So I think we're just because the agenda says Harwich Port, I think we can be the Town of Harwich.
Right. I was
The whole
just
town of
reading off
Harwich.
of what I had in front of me, and I wanted to
is the
just
agenda,
recognize something that someone had said.
Yeah.
All right, with that, I move to adjourn this
Wait,
meeting.
no, no,
Wait,
you
which
gotta
meeting?
pick the next meeting.
Meeting, that's right, that's
Next
right.
meeting.
2 weeks? Does that give us time to
Hold on.
have suggestions coming through?
Sarah was hoping we'd go after
You
Thanksgiving.
didn't think you'd be
No,
part
we
of this
need to
committee,
keep
did you?
meeting.
No.
If she can't come, she can't come, but we need to keep
That would
meeting.
be November 12th, can't do November, well, actually, if we keep it 5 to 6, selectmen will then be on the 12th, so I will have to be upstairs by 6:30, so if we can
Okay.
do November 12th, it just has to be 5 to 6.
I just have a question. We need at some point to go later so that residents who want to come can be here. Your meeting is at what time?
Only because it's a holiday on Monday. So otherwise, if you want to go if we want to go 2 weeks, we're going on the 12th, because we stick with Tuesdays. Otherwise, go to the 19th. I don't think there's anything on the agenda for that. So at 5:30 then.
Or what about next week? I mean,
I
don't care.
cannot do next week.
You can't do
Nope.
next week.
Not next Tuesday.
Let's do the 12th. I don't want to go
I'm
3
away
weeks
now.
out.
And I'm away next week.
You're away next
Yep.
week.
I don't really think we should go 3 weeks.
I don't either. Is 5:30 to 6:30, does that work for you?
I can excuse myself.
Okay.
I need to be at the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
At what time?
It's at 6:30.
At 6:30.
So I have no problem moving the meeting to 5:30, but I will excuse myself.
We can do 5 to 6. People can come in late.
5
I
to
don't
6?
have a problem with that.
Okay.
The room is booked for that time,
So what are you saying, the 12th?
the 12th.
But
Yeah.
I think Fran's point is that
Do it 5:30 and I'll just excuse myself. I'm only,
Oh, how about 5:25?
I'm only one person.
You'd have to excuse yourself a few minutes early.
Yeah, it's just a few minutes.
If you guys are still going, you guys can take care of it. I can excuse myself.
Okay.
That's better for me, 5:30 anyway.
5:30 to
Yeah.
6:30?
Okay.
Okay.
November 12th, 5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping West Harwich in mind, so.
I'm looking forward to getting yours.
Thanksgiving on
Yes.
Thanksgiving's
directed
really,
the-
really.
I didn't realize it was that.
We're gonna adjourn.
Hang on, we gotta adjourn the meeting.
Crazy.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Lois,